So, yes, hello, this is Dr. Chris Lemmon, and this is the final chat with Wellness Code. There will be no more. Not only will there be no more, I'm actually going to take a little break. So, email me, call me, do whatever you want to. I won't answer until probably around the 3rd or 4th of June. So, I'm going to be coming and going, but mostly going. There'll be somebody around here, but I will not be around here. And So I won't be able to answer your questions for a little while. If they're really pressing, why? Hopefully by June you'll have it all figured out. Make it easier on me. But if not, I'd be glad to entertain them come June. So a little synopsis: Wellness Code was really designed to be able to approach the idea of being able to be well and become well in a changing country, in a changing world, in a changing climate, in a changing global mindset, hopefully that we're starting to, right now it's not the political climate that we live in, but most certainly it's a growing piece that's been developing, even though we're ignoring it right now. It's been developing, like climate change. It's something that's been developing. It's just not a political climate right now, but it's most certainly developing. And so those things are not going to go away. They're going to keep developing. And so whether we address them or not, we'll come back to them sooner or later. So wellness is being able to establish all those things. The criterion is that people look at the things they have to do, and over 90% of them they don't do, or they put off to another day, or they wait till there's a threshold they have to. And that's pretty much the climate. When it takes 30 years to develop chronic illness, for which kills majority of the people on this planet, that becomes the out-picturing of death, or the doorway to death, or the gateway to death for most people today. When you start to look at that, you start to say, wow, 30 years I haven't got it. Well, that's the problem we have. So wellness today is like, we need to change the habit of who we are, the habit of what we are becoming. We need to be able to address it. As we get more information, we need to get inspired to make those changes. So we have to really examine things in a timely sort of way. There is a nature of doing the same thing consistently over and over again, not making changes. People come to me all the time and say, I don't have the discipline you have, Chris. And I go, I don't think of myself as being disciplined. But when something doesn't work, I'm willing to abandon it. I'm willing to secure no and done. I have been doing that for a long time in life. So I guess that makes me disciplined, although I never thought of it that way. I'd always thought of myself as being a mostly impatient, and I have a tendency to kind of make a plan. If I don't have a plan, who knows what's going to happen? I'll show up and I'll respond to whatever's there. If I have a little bit of plan, then I can maneuver around. We could make something happen, right? If I don't have a plan, then who knows what's going to happen? I can respond to, I don't know. I have no problem with that. So if that's the qualities to discipline, okay, I'm disciplined. I'll buy that. Doesn't meet my criterion, but that's it, then that's it. Now, in wellness, I started looking a long time ago. It's like, my blood pressure goes up for a little while. I'm thinking, wow, what is the problem here? I went to see a doctor, and the doctor had no idea what the problem was. So I spent 5-6 months in a battery of tests. And finally, I had to walk out of that office, not picking on doctors. I like doctors. I walked out of that office saying, I don't know. They don't know. And I'm not arriving at a change that I can address for blood pressure that's sometimes high, sometimes low. It fluctuates. So I go, wow, is it a problem? No, it's not a problem. But what is happening with my relationship to blood pressure? It's not stable. If I have a friend that's mad at me some days and other days not, then I need to assume that either we've got a problem we need to talk about, or they've gone totally bipolar on me. Either way, I need to address it. So I just do that. I think that's the nature of relationship. So I had to look at my blood pressure and I said, I'm just going to have to walk away from testing model and start to look at it myself. And I started getting into it and I finally figured out what was causing it. I went ahead and get rid of it. So now I check my blood pressure about once a week. It salvages out pretty good. I'm right in the ranges of normal. I've been doing that now for around 8-9 years. I go on vacation. I don't check it at all. I don't care. When I come back, I get back into the routine of checking it. I attend to, I'm reflective to that. It starts to allow me to be observant to something that otherwise could easily be 5-6 years of high blood pressure and not know it. My neighbor had high blood pressure when he lived over there. I finally said, you should go see a doctor, dude. He said, well, I did. They put me on these pills. And I said, and they're not working? Well, maybe I need a stronger one. Like, well, that's not fixing the problem. But why don't you see if you can find out why your blood pressure is high? See what's going on. And he's looking at me, he said, well, I went to the doctor. And I'm going, okay, I'm not communicating here. So now he's had surgery on his heart. He lost 10 pounds. He was 50 pounds overweight. His blood pressure's not as high, but he's on a lot more medication. He's gets fired up even quicker. He's on the edge in the world we live in. He's a little frustrated with things. He drinks too much. I don't see his life getting better. I see it taking a turn for the worse. Other than that, not a bad person. I'm okay with what he does. I don't want to do what he does. If you signed up for the program, then maybe you don't want to do what he does. So that was the idea. Can we reflect on who we are? Can we re-examine who we are? Can we get a handle on that, get a feel for that? And then can we come back and say, okay, I got it. Now I need to go through all the data that I can find and determine what do I need to do to make a change. And then what I need to do needs to be a habit of it. So when I got my day 2 kit and I started looking at that, normally I eat dinner, 1 meal a day. I don't normally eat any more than 1 meal a day. I decided when I got my day 2 kit and looked at my microbiome, I thought, well, I can make an egg sandwich in the morning. 2 eggs, whole wheat bread, butter. I looked it up, didn't spike my sugar. I thought, what I will do is I'll portion things out for a while. I mean, I spent 50 years eating 1 meal a day. Maybe it's time to change. So back in November, I decided I was going to eat Twigs, 2 pieces of whole wheat bread, and some butter every morning. And I started doing that. I have done that every morning since November. I can most certainly do that. Why I got that idea is because the last 10 days in India, I had a little bit of probably pneumonia or something close to that. So all I did for 10 days was eat Twigs every morning. I didn't lose any weight. My body mass index dropped a little bit, but I managed to be somewhat functional, other than the fact that, I was kind of on the edge of pneumonia. But I got up every morning. I got out there. I just would get tired during the day because my body was fatigued, but I did fine. So I decided I'd try that change. It's an experiment, right? So I've been eating 2 eggs every morning. I watch my body mass index. I watch my weight. It's stabilized a lot better. The fluctuations would go up and down maybe like 2 pounds. It would go up 2 pounds, 2 days later it'd come back to where it was. Sometimes I'd lose a pound or 2, then I'd come back up again. It's having the 2 eggs, 2 pieces of toast in the morning has stabilized it. It only fluctuates maybe a pound every other day or so. So it makes the dinner portions a little smaller. If I do get something that doesn't fit my microbiome, I can cut back on a smaller portion of it and still eat a little bit of it, and it don't make those big spike jumps. So I'm playing with new information. I'm learning how to get not only healthier, but a lot healthier than what I was. I've been going to the gym and working out because I put together a few new protocols I'm playing with. I used to work in a gym, so I was a trainer way back, way back, eons back when, anyway, it don't matter. But I most certainly was a trainer in the gym. Luck of the draw, I went in and made friends with a bunch of guys, one of which was Mr. Olympic at one time, and the other 2 had been bodybuilders. So these 3 guys took a liking to me for whatever reason, and I became their trainer. Well, unofficially. Well, then officially, the guy that owned the gym looked at me and said, "Oh my goodness, I got 2 trainers, and all the clients have dropped them to go with you, and you're not even an official trainer." So he had to hire me. So I became a trainer at Jack LaLanne Gym for about a year and a half. Worked out with these guys, got them through some techniques, and it was all just from ideas that I had read and applying them, right? And looking at what their needs were. I even had a few bodybuilders that came from Hollywood area up for a day at the gym so they could meet me and work out with me one day, that were movie stars that had done these, Tarzan movies and stuff. It was really kind of interesting. I became kind of a little bit famous in a small circle for whatever silly reason. It didn't bring any income, but it was really intriguing. I got to meet a lot of people and talk about it a little bit. And then, at some point I said, okay, I think I'm done with bodybuilding. And I think I'm going to try some sports. So I gave up on bodybuilding and tried a few sports and activities out, and just to get a change. I'm always looking at a change. I'm always looking where we can go. I'm always looking at what template, what package can I put into that? Can I become that? Can I move into that? Can I exercise that role? Can I do well with that? Can I have fun with it? And at what point do I say, okay, that's enough, next, and then move on to something else? And so that's the nature of being able to exercise, I think, in a world of becoming, in a world of change, is being able to play with this and be able to move with this on a regular basis, right? So here we are with our final chat. We've got 1 or 2 people on and no real questions. So I'm just kind of doing a little bit of review. I am recording this piece just so we can post the final chat and close the thing out. You will see now somewhere over the next year, a percentage of you will see somewhere over the next year. I run a pretty high percentage of my seminars in the past when I've done them live. This is the first wellness code seminar I've done as a webinar. And so I don't know what my numbers are going to be. I do know the industry, I think I said in my closing, pulls in, they like to say 6% realistically. The numbers after 2 years are somewhere down below 5%. I've been able to pull in somewhere around 20%. And the numbers after 2 years have been somewhere between 10 and 15%. Once again, depending on the questionnaires and reporting, I had to kind of track some people down, and we don't always get feedback reports back from people on their progress, but those are kind of the numbers that I've been able to pull in. So having it be a state of being, having it being a template, starts to get you thinking differently. You'll start to develop new markers, and you start to make changes, not because you tied a string around your finger as a to-do list, But just because you've looked at yourself, you've entertained it, and it starts to come into play. That was the whole idea of doing it much simpler. I have other ideas and programs that work along this same line. They bounce off of states of being to be able to interface empathetically on several different levels, be able to generate an interface state, move away from assumptions. There are also programs that would probably take about 2 years, like most states, to be able to integrate in and change. I haven't been able to imagine any way I could do them as a webinar yet. So somewhere over the next year, I might start doing some seminars again at different locations to be able to play with these. So we'll see what happens. And so you can watch my website. I may actually post some of those ideas on a new page and I've been rewriting some of the material and updating it. So we'll see what comes down the pike. So a little bit of a catch-all, a little bit of review. I will post this up, and it's been really a lot of fun doing this. I want to leave a special thanks for Kathy Peterman. She's been my mentor in doing webinars. She was a really good mentor. I was not a very good student, but I have got really comfortable with doing these, and compared to my first attempt at trying to coordinate all this activity, there's so many variables to rely on to. It's really interesting. Anyway, thank you very much. And for people like Penny Gunther for amazing questions. She's always one step ahead of me. And for people like Mike Wadler and Paul Fry, Paul Parks, that have come up with amazingly good questions and have been an inspiration in my work to see people out there that have not only applied themselves, but being able to come back with good questions and be able to see more avenues and more things in the future. So thank you all for being out there. It's been really, really fun. And we'll see what materializes in the future. So on that note, I'm going to close this thing down. And
Chris?
Thanks. Yes.
Before you go, can I ask a question?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was talking nice about you, and I didn't even show you show up in here. Matter of fact, I don't even have a number. Yeah, go ahead.
Because one thing that has occurred to me recently, you mentioned again in the most recent lecture you sent us, where you were talking about securing we.
Yes.
What all that entails and what comes from that. And
yes.
one of the things you said was that there are, sometimes when you are working with someone who does things differently than you do, and you match them or train with them or however you want to say that.
Right.
And you feel that you can't do it their way, that it just wouldn't work for you. But that doesn't invalidate what they're doing?
No, because securing a we is not to make somebody your prisoner or your slave. Securing a we is to be able to open up an avenue of exactly that. Find out how people do it differently than you would. I would never entertain doing it differently than the way I do it. And there's a lot of wisdom in knowing different ways of doing it, so I'd have more choices. We're attempting to make two things: wider range so we can make wiser decisions, and an integration. And integration simply means, can I bring that into the nature of me? That's the nature of becoming. If I have a lot of diversity and choices, but I can't integrate them, then I can't apply them. So I become an unchanging person with a long list of options. I have 2,000 books in this library. If I did not read them and be able to apply some of those concepts and ideas, most of them have become workshops at some point in time, or some data into a workshop, then that gave me application from them. That was securing data. Data is just simply, a Google search doesn't really, it's enlightening, but it doesn't get you into the experience. It may make you more confident in moving to the experience. But no matter how much data you have to then move into it. So securing no and securing done are unique in the fact that you don't have to carry those pieces around. It opens up so you can have more range. But if it's all about you all the time, the points in the range are always all about you. Now, that might get you to be president, but it doesn't get you to be a well-rounded person, and it doesn't get you to be a very good resource in a world that needs good resources. So if we start to entrain with other people, we start to go, wow, I don't think I could pull that off the way they do it, but that's interesting. So now I know something, and then I can harmonize with them. I think that's the word we used in a workshop back there. That was the harmony retreat, right? So then I could say, wow, they're not doing it wrong and I'm doing it right. That was the old polarity piece. They're doing it different than I'm doing it. Our goals are the same. We had to come to this realization in the gender piece, but it's much, much bigger than gender piece, right? That the whole dynamic is there's a lot more diversity. Gender piece was one that was extremely obvious. The rationale was different between men and women. Obviously, the level of accomplishment didn't get lost anywhere. I don't think anywhere that a woman could not do everything a man could do and vice versa. I don't think the style and the rationale will be the same. So if I'm walking with them or working with them, I would then have to be able to say, hey, this is your forte, or hey, this is my forte. We could do that back and forth. And I have worked with a lot of women. I worked with a girl one time in a car, crimes of violence. So we responded to violent crimes. She could get in someone's face and push them, really push them and back them down. If I would have done that, there would have been a fight. But she could do that. And so I always let her take the lead. She was feisty and ornery, and she would just push them back down, had them all sitting down, be in a bar fight with 40 people out there fighting, and she'd have them all sitting on the sidewalk and shut up. And she just like, she was their mother. It was amazing to watch. And I'm thinking, wow, I really learned a lot from her. It's like, oh my goodness, this is very interesting. Total different rationale in it. She could pull it off, and I couldn't have pulled off what she did. Not at all. But it was really fun watching. I knew it was possible. And because I knew it was possible, I had to find in me a better way to handle 40 angry people drunk and wanting to fight, and a lot of other situations in life that I thought I could handle and really needed to apply new wisdom. I needed to expand those ranges. I needed to learn from that. That's what securing we is all about. We get caught up in whatever we believe to be. Boy, we don't want to give up those belief systems. We're comfortable with it. We fit into it. And that gets us lost because we really need to change. The world is going to change no matter what. And you don't want to become obsolete in a changing world because then you feel very isolated and you wind up being part of the statistics, which is called depression, right? You and I have all experienced being isolated, being separated from groups, separated from family. We've moved, we had to redefine ourselves. We had to make new friends. We had to find a new place in the world. So those tidbits come from people you get advice from, people you talk to. I've been working on cleaning my pond for 6 years now. I finally have decided that I need more data. I'm actually going to hire someone this year to clean my pond. Not because I haven't tried it. I haven't been very successful. I'm going to hire someone to have them do it. I'm going to watch them. I'm going to find out what I thought I knew and I didn't know because I haven't had a success with it. I'm going to have them do it. I'm going to pay them I'm going to watch them. I'm going to find out what I did. I'm going to secure that we piece. I have watched them clean other people's ponds. They've cleaned them up. They've cleaned the water up. They've done a really good job. I have got advice from people. None of it has worked. I have tried all kinds of stuff I found on the internet. None of it has worked very well. It's time to have someone else come in. And that's what we need to do in life. We need to be able to be open to the fact that, wow, I need to connect to someone. It may cost me a little bit of money, but I need to connect to someone. Yeah, after I learn what I don't know, some piece I didn't get. And so I need to get my ego obviously got in the way of interpreting something. I need to just make someone else important for a day, pay them enough money so they are important for the day, and learn it. And that's a whole big chunk of securing we. Like, we then know it, and we then can have a better world. Yes, he might lose me as a customer, but he does a good job. He's really busy. I got to book him out a month ahead of time. It's not going to be a problem. It's not going to run him out of business. I'm certainly not going to go into the business, but at least I can then be very proactive about improving my pond, which is what? I live in a neighborhood. It has a quality, right? It's part of the neighborhood. I'm not separate from my environment. It reflects on all of the pieces that are situated in this neighborhood. So that, I think, is the mindset of being able to get to where we can arrive at eventually a global mindset so that we can attend to the problems in the world that are so distant from us. I think we need to say, wow, what if they arrive at our back door? What are we going to do then? Now is a good time to take a look at what they are and how they would unfold. That I am traveling in the world to see how these things unfold. Before they arrive at my porch, I want to know how to deal with these issues. I'm going where issues are to be able to get a handle on it. So anyway, did that answer at all? Well, what you were trying to ask?
It did, but there's another component to it, which is that when I train with somebody, especially if it's someone that I really admire what they do and how they do it,
yes,
I train with them and realize that there's no way I could ever pull that off, then that becomes, instead of me invalidating them, it's like I'm invalidating myself. So what you're saying, I think, is that what I need to do is just, it doesn't mean I need to become what they are, even though they're doing a really great job. It's just a way of expanding my range of what I know and what my options are.
Right. And that gets us back to reflective piece. There's a natural tendency from the world of knowledge, because we've been educated into that perspective. Once we teach you this, you'll know. And really, like the girl that does the glass work in your community, we have met her. You have talked to her a lot more than I have. I look at that, and I have done a little bit of glass work. I did enough of it to decide that I didn't want to do it. So talking to her, it's almost as if she does what she does. And when I chit-chatted with her about her art, she doesn't even go into it very much. It's almost as if it's pretty laissez-faire. She just does what she does. So she has a state that she kind of gets in a tempo or the mood. It's an emotional piece in there. And then she does it. She expresses herself. I could go take classes from her and learn to do that if it was important to me. I have taken classes from people, done a little bit of it, and said, nah, spends way too much time. I don't like standing in front of all that heat. I don't like doing this. I don't like doing that. Is it fun? Is it interesting? Yeah, but it doesn't meet my personality. It's not going to fit into a trait That's going to be part of me. It's not going to wind up somewhere on my list of things. Might be on something that I did, but it's not going to be a list of qualities that I'd say, hey, I can do that. I do stained glass work. Most certainly I have no problem working with glass. I have done some commercial work. I would not go back into commercial work anymore at all. But I've done it just for fun. So those are you start to do that secure, so you'll learn something about you. You find that you can't do it their way, tells you like, okay, if I can't do it their way, then I need to reflect on me. How would I do it if I were going to do it? How would I, if I had to stand in all that heat from that furnace, melting glass and blowing those things up and making glass objects, how would I do that? Because I'm not comfortable in all that heat. I don't like heat. I'm sitting there sweating and I'm thinking, oh, this is no fun. I would much rather go skiing where it's cold, right? So forget the furnace. I don't want to do that, right? I've done them a couple of times. I don't want to do it. They were fun to play with, but I don't want to do it. I made ceramic figurines and painted them already. I don't want to do that either. I made models when I was a kid and painted those airplanes and put decals on them. I don't want to do that. There's a lot of things that I've got into, and I said, I don't really want to do that. I went to massage school. I don't want to do that. Most certainly don't want to do that. So I think that we start to find that, wow, could I do some of that for a hobby? Could I do some of that for a special interest? Could I show up and I can work a broom, but I don't want to get a job as a janitor, right? That's not a problem. I'd be glad to show up and help you sweep your porch. No problem. I don't want the job of doing it every week. So I think you have to reflect and say, how can I put that in context? I look at them and I said, I can't do it their way. Then my question is, I need to look into my soul and say, hey, is there enough drive for me to discover my way of doing it? Or is there really just kind of like a fascination with it? And I'm not going to work that hard with it. I think I told that story about Dennis. He wanted to be an artist. When I finally talked him into going back and taking art classes, I'm not sure that he still does it. He did really, really good. He had a whole portfolio of pictures that he drew. I thought they were amazing, really, really good. However, I said, well, now you're going to be an artist. And he said, I don't think so, because it takes way too much time. And I'm not comfortable spending so much time. I like the outcome, but I'm not sure. Pretty soon, I think I'm probably just going to quit doing it. And that's what happens, I think, at least from my experience. Like, wow, I figured it out, but I'm going to quit doing it. Got a couple of boards across my driveway I've repaired. My wife said, are you going to fix the rest of them? I said, no, probably not. No, not unless they break. You know, I could go in and kind of like fix this, fix that, but nah. I'm not changing design. I'm just repairing. If I wanted to redesign, that'd be a different story. I'd have to think about that. I have lattices and stuff I built outside that was redesigned. There was a lattice there before that worked just fine, but you know, I all of a sudden got this wild idea that I'd make it different in design. So I tore it all down and redesigned it. Spent a couple $100 and built something totally different. Do I want to do that everywhere? No, I don't think so. That was just a little fun project. So it all comes into your uniqueness and how it unfolds for you. Learning you can't do it the way someone else does it can be very invalidating. Yes, you're absolutely right. And you get past it. when Deborah was running choir and everybody was doing music, I came in and did a couple bass lines with my guitar and did a few things. Have I played music at one time? Was I in a band at one time? Yeah. Do I want to do it? No, I really don't want to do it. I bought a bass guitar and I was going to do a little bass because it would be kind of fun to kind of accompany Deborah in some of her pieces. I thought that'd be kind of fun. You know, I played with it for about a year. I never could get my head around it. I just couldn't practice. I couldn't get into it. I talked with several different people that played, took a couple of different classes. You know, I don't think it's for me. So I think the guitar is now gone, and that one. And so I think I think my wife has decided that she's going to bow it, do something different with it. It's all fine with me. It was an idea I entertained for a while. So I think that's the unfolding that we can see come down as it starts to fold out. Some of the things have a great appeal, but, you know, they're not. I like hiking, but I'm not too sure I want to go to Spain and do the Camino. I might, Appalachian Mountains sounds good to do a little section of it maybe, but I don't know. I can get inspired by it, and then I start to get in training and start to move around, and I think, nah, you know, really not my thing. I don't think I'd do that. So, like wellness code, you have to spend a lot of time in reflection. Really look deep into your soul and say, do I really want to do this? Right. I don't know. I never really wanted to go to India, but it was fun, you know. And we went to India and tracked around, and I'm glad I went. But it was never on my bucket list. So now I'm making a trip to Morocco. It was not on my bucket list either, but I have more interest in going to Morocco than I had in India. But India wasn't bad. I enjoyed the trip. And I don't think I'd go back, but anyway, if I went back, would I do it differently? Yeah, probably I would do it differently. But I think that the big thing I could say is I probably wouldn't do it. Yeah. I wouldn't want to improve on it. I would probably rather just not do it. Nice people. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't want to do it. Does that make any sense?
Yes, thank you.
I think that you should learn more about you in the process. You shouldn't learn, I can't do it their way. You should learn more about, what do you really want to do? We're not going to do everything. And that's just the very nature of it, right? So I remember when we moved in here, my wife said, can you build a birdhouse? I said, I can build a birdhouse. I don't want to. So now I have 7 birdhouses. I didn't build any of them. Are they cute? Are they whatever? The birds like them. I guess they work. I still haven't built a birdhouse. I'm not all that sure that I've changed my mind. I have looked at a lot of birdhouses. I've owned a lot of birdhouses that I've thrown away, that I've paid way too much money for. And the ones I have right now, my wife is very happy with, and we have birds, and they're really kind of cute. And I cleaned up the mess. That's kind of my relationship to birdhouses. So, no, can I build one? Yes. Do I want to build one? No, still don't want to. Nothing personal to the birds. Just not going to do it. So anyway, that's the very nature of it. Will I take on something new? Maybe. I always wanted to get a loom, you know. I thought that'd be kind of cool to, I don't know what I'd make with it. I thought that'd be kind of cool. It'd take up a lot of space. I don't know where I'd put it. I'd have to build a room on the house for it. I'm not sure I'm going to do that either. Uh, I don't know, but maybe, or maybe someday I'll move and have a really big house and I'll have a whole room for it. I knew a guy that had 7 kids. He had a really big house and he had a room in his attic, and he made all the carpets and all the rugs in his house and the bedspreads. He was always up there feeding thread back and forth, making the thing operate. That was his meditative model. I don't think I would take that on. Well, I definitely would not take that on, I'm sure. But it would be kind of cool to make a little something, kind of like the fun of it. Yeah. Anyway, so that's where I sit. I couldn't tell you what tomorrow's going to bring. I have no clue, but it'll be an interesting unfolding process. So, did that answer?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Anyone else on there? I have 5 on there now. Okay. No other questions? All right. I'm going to save this, but I'm going to save the